Hey, Pulse and Pirate fans, welcome to the 5th episode of the Pirate Podcast for 2019. You can find us on the PHS webpage, YouTube, and SoundCloud, airing every Friday morning. Today we have Superintendent Mr. Weltz. Mr. Weltz, how's it going today?
Great, thanks for having me.
So, we are about 2 years removed from the snow collapsing on the gym. Can you give us an update on what's going on with that gym now?
Okay, Caleb. There's actually two big things going on in the district right now. Well, probably more than that, but two big ones on my plate. As you mentioned, 2 years ago, January 2018, had that snow collapse there on Linderman. It has been, on the political correctness side, it's been a lot of collaboration between us and the insurance company to get that thing back up and running, really predominantly just to get people back in it. You know, we've lost not only a school building, but it was also a community building. And so we had adult ed, we had funerals, we had a lot of events that took place in there just outside of the school. I'm happy to say the last week we poured the first concrete foundation footings on the east side, and that's taken us roughly 18 months to get done. But we're on the, not to interrupt you, we're on the right track now. We could carry that even further. The insurance company and the school district have been working hard to come up with a resolution on how we're going to get the building back up and running. And so I'm happy to say that both insurance company and the school district are on the same page, kind of see eye to eye, and moving forward. And what we were really concentrating on was the financial responsibility. Who's paying for that work? And so Travelers is helping us out, and it fully funded through Travelers at this point.
Is there kind of like a time frame to when you guys know that'll be done? Or
and through this whole process, we continually, I'll ask what that timeline, what does that look like? And they'll give me a completion date, and 3 months later, it goes out a little further. So sometimes I'm reluctant to release a date because it just comes back and bites me. But at this point, we're looking at December 2020. That my goal would be to get kids in there earlier, November, but it looks like we'll have classes, PE classes at Linderman. Our Linderman elementary classes will be in there in December. That also means that we also have girls and boys basketball practice for the first time and start playing games back in that building that we've been at. Thankfully, SKC's helped us out.
Yeah, that'll be really nice to get that
back in our own
again.
town, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That'll probably help like people coming into the games and just overall so students can get there easy.
I think there's a sense of pride.
For sure.
Again, I am super thankful that SKC stepped up and let us use their facility. It's been a great relationship with them. Not to take that away, but it's sure nice to get back home. It's one of those things like when you've been on vacation, you get back to your house, it's like this is the right place. And being back in our district is certainly going to be a different feel. I agree, Caleb. I think we'll probably get more people back into the building.
Yeah, I think all the fans will be really excited to get back home.
I do too. And it's going to be it'll be a brand new 1,600 seat facility. It's that one was built in 1949, I think, and finished in 1950. As cool as it was, I'll tell you, as a kid when I was your age, I played basketball in that. From a Class C school, we played our district tournaments in that. One of the best places in the world to play a basketball game. Yeah. Absolutely a great place. But it just got old. It wore out, and it's time to replace.
Yep. So I've seen some floor plans in the lobby, and there was some tours, and I've heard things about bonds. Can you just kind of tell us some more about that?
Yeah, that's another thing I'm really excited about. And it is a heavy lift. I will tell you that. A little on the backstory of this. Before Linderman exposed itself and broke during that winter storm we had, I worked with our school board, and we walked around 8 school board members, myself, and some other administrators. And we walked through every one of our campuses, outside and interior, and really just took note, like what's working, what's not. This building was built in the early 70s, and it was never built to sustain the needs of what we have today, in particular on the safety side. We have people that, and it's just frustrating as heck as an administrator and as a teacher, that schools become targets. Right, and so safety is always on my front of my brain, and your guys' safety, our staff safety, is what can we do to better serve our students in the most safe environment possible. And this building wasn't built for that mentality or that philosophy. And so when we walked around almost 2 years ago, we noticed that your front office where Mr. Sampson sits and Ms. Knutson, that is in the wrong location. Right? We really, when people walk into a school, they should walk into the front office, get checked in, and then be dismissed to wherever they go with a visitor pass.
Yeah.
Kind of more like the middle school is, like it's
Exactly.
kind of closer to the entrance.
Absolutely, where you get checked in. And we know, I was a high school principal here for 4 years. People can walk into our building and virtually go anywhere they want.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think more importantly is the mods. You know, our 4 mods that sit out out there with the building that we're in right now currently.
Yeah.
That's not as secure as I want it to be.
Yeah.
By any means. Again, nobody has to check in to get here. They can just walk in from the parking lot. So safety. So on the bond side, that was one piece up here that we knew that was really important for us to address. We did that with middle school, Linderman, and Cherry Valley. Noticed that there were things drastically that we need to improve. And then Linderman broke, right? The wall fell off, and then our school board, in their wisdom, I commended for that they said, stop all K-12 facilities planning. Let's go back and fix Linderman. Make sure that we as taxpayers don't have to pay for that thing. And when we get that figured out, we'll come back and address our needs. And so we're back 2 years later. We do feel like Linderman's on the right track. There's equipment moving, dirt's moving, concrete's being poured. So I feel like we're in a good place. So that's the bond.
Yeah.
I will say our bond is built on three legs of the stool. And I mentioned, first of all, is safety, security, and health. If you guys remember, if you've been a student at Cherry Valley or Linderman, hot, stuffy, stinky, dark in Linderman, and we don't have good air movement in any of our buildings. And quite frankly, we leave all of our doors open in the fall and the spring because it's so hot in your classrooms down there that we let fresh air in. So that means that we have a safety issue. Now we opened our doors to the public, right? And that's not a best thing. So health, safety, and security, really important in this. Academic regrouping. At the high school, academic-wise, we want to build a STEAM center. We know that 50 to 60% of you guys go to college. There's 40 to 50% that do not. And I want to build a center that our students can have hands-on, better shop classes, welding, small engines, home ec, tourism, hospitality, art classes. We need to produce students with the skills that they can get a job when they leave high school for those that don't go on to college. That's important.
Yeah.
In the elementary level, the academic side, I want to regroup our kids. Kindergarten, Cherry Valley, remember, it goes K1. Then we send our second graders to Linderman, and that's a 2, 3, 4. And then we send our fifth graders to the middle school. That's not appropriate in really in education. So we want to keep it to pre-K, kindergarten, first and second grade at Cherry Valley. And then Linderman would be a 3, 4, 5 grade level. And then middle school would be a traditional 6th, 7th, and 8th. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
So that's the general theme. There's a lot of other parts to it. So I mentioned the 3 legs. Health, safety, security is one. Academics at the high school and the elementary. And the last part of it is community. In Montana, which we're privileged to live in, schools are the central part of our community. And so the community piece to this bond is that we have better adult ed classes. I want there will be a big community event center up here, right where your mods are sitting now. When these go away, opens up a pad for a 4,000 seat competition gym, event center for the community. It'll have a walking track. So our adults, they have to walk around Walmart and Safeway in the winter. We'll have a walking track where they can come in. We'll check in here. It's free. It's an adult ed class, and then they can go ahead and use it. Cooking classes, welding classes, shop classes for adults, cardiovascular classes. And so opening up our buildings for the community for something, especially winter's a tough place here. It's got a great big swimming pool out here in the summer, but in the winter, there's not a lot for us to do, and I want to help out with that.
Just ask Linderman.
Exactly. Yep.
So, how do you think the community or the event center will affect like the community as far as having possible tournaments and stuff like that here? Yeah.
I think that as I talk to the business community, and there are people that we're working with right now, they're excited about the possibility. And quite frankly, it's not just tournaments. those will be really nice. Mr. Wilson, remember, was a principal here. He now works for the High School Association from athletics. We had talked about what this might look like. There will be some tournaments that happen in this big facility when it gets built. But I think the revenue, what I'm trying to do is build revenue sources for our community.
Yeah.
Some tournaments at the high school level will be great, but I foresee a lot more than that. That's just a small part of what could happen. I see parents chasing around their kids and little boy, little girl basketball. There'll be 300-400 kids running around a community. We can host that, especially if it's built here and coupled to the other gym next door. It'll be all under one roof. And so you'll have 2 courts, or actually there's 3 in the big building, 2 in the small one. We could have 5 courts. We could have lots of moms and dads running around here. The other one would be working with a vendor for concert series. So in the winter, we could bring in, there's a need for our community to be able to have entertainment. And so having a concert series, boat shows, gun shows, quilting shows, and just a lot of home improvement pieces. So I see these buildings being utilized by the public, not just a tournament, but whatever else we can imagine to open up to our community. I think it's important for us to have people in our community to buy hamburgers and hot dogs and gasoline and motel rooms, put money back into our community.
Yeah, and that'll be nice because in the summer, you can have concerts outside, entertainment outside, but all along the winter, then you'll have a place to have that entertainment too.
And that I was working with our local radio station and the administration of those companies, and they're excited. They're like, well, that'd be great for our community.
I bet. Yeah.
I think the last thing with this event center is when Linderman was up and when we were able to use it, was usable, we were still short on gym spaces. Right now we have middle schoolers going to soccer practice at 8:00 at night. We just in the community don't have enough places for kids to practice, and having another gym, having Linderman back online and have another gym just opens up the facilities in our district. And so there is a super need for more gym time, especially during the winter.
Yeah, it'd be huge. Just coming from, because I played little guy basketball all the way up until now, so I've dealt with that.
Absolutely.
My whole life, the whole gym space deal.
So I remember when I was coaching down in Hamilton, we didn't have a lot of gyms. I was a freshman boys basketball coach one year, and we'd get up at 6. We'd be at the gym by 6:15. And when you have more gyms, you don't have to have our kids' parents bringing them in so early or waiting so late, doing homework, trying to get fed and trying to get some sleep, and then getting back up and ready to roll again. So we will not be short. And that's just the adults, or just the kids. The adult version is we have a big need for women's adult ed basketball, men's adult ed basketball. There's adult soccer teams that like to play, and we haven't had the opportunity to do that. I would caution our listeners that we build a big gym, a competition gym and event center. It's not where everybody goes. That will be strictly for athletics practices, and when it's open, we'll give it to the community. But it does allow Linderman to be open at middle school.
Else up
just gives us a lot more out there.
So will there be changes to the current gym? Will the weight room be changed, or the wrestling room, or things from that standpoint?
Nice job. That's the first time I've ever heard that question. And as we've gone through the modeling of what this could look like, it's really important to note that they're just concepts. We didn't hire an architect to come out and give us a full-blown, this is exactly what's going to be built. We needed square foot, how many square feet do we need? What is it we're looking for? And then we can get a cost estimate off of that. But in the proposal, what my thoughts are, is the current weight room that we have right now, that gets turned into a cardiovascular center. Okay. So cycling, treadmills, things that we do for cardiovascular, not necessarily weight equipment. Remember that one of the problems in our society is obesity, gaining weight, right? And getting kids to eat better and to exercise. Well, not everybody wants to run around and throw weights around, right? But if our PE classes had the ability to do cycling or some aerobics, Stairmaster, those type of cardiovascular experiences, we would do better for our students and serve them better if we had that equipment. And so the weight room that I see right now turns into a cardiovascular center. And then in the new competition gym will be a new weight room. Okay. Because the weight rooms, if you had a chance to get up and see Whitefish's weight room, phenomenal, right? It's the state of the art. That's the new, and we don't have that, obviously. And so something of that line new in the new competition gym. And I think the other part of this bond is that we also want to model in an alternative school. So an alternative school where we lose anywhere from 20 to 40 kids a year, and they just walk out our doors. And what we don't have is another option. When school doesn't work for a student, unlike you guys, but if there's somebody, if it doesn't work and they just want to leave, we have nothing else to offer them. And districts and schools right now are leaning towards an alternative environment. And so in this bond, there will be an alternative setting which has classrooms, a kitchen, place to have a washer and dryer. So those kids that don't fit well or it doesn't work for them, we have another opportunity for them. And last thing I want to do is have a kid drop out of school. Right? And so this plan has a backup for some of our students as well.
That's really nice. I've never really heard of anything like that before. That's really nice.
So from like the standpoint we've talked about at the event center for like maybe some of the more like kind of athlete oriented people and stuff like that. So as far as like, is there going to be like a new place for like band and maybe and the drama club and maybe stuff like that? Is there? Yeah.
So not only athletics, we talk about academics, that hands-on learning.
Yeah.
We talked about more phys ed and cardiovascular. The other part of this bond, the drawing at the high school, is that there'll be another band choir. How we separate that, we're not sure yet. But if you remember, if you're in choir, you can't have band, right? Because there's only one spot. And so we can't have both of those going on at the same time. So when we relocate the front offices out to the front of the building and on the be the east side, right next door to the auditorium, there'll be another band room there, right, with more storage. So we can literally have now a choir and a band going on at the same time. And then you remember how we have everything stored up on top of the racks and everything on top of the shelves with more storage and more secure. And so it just cleans up. That room that we use in choir right now is busy. I mean, it is a busy room, right? And we could use two more of them. In the plan, we would really look at even have more practice rooms. Those 4 that run up and down the hall there, we'd have additional practice rooms, not only for choir but also for band. And so we expand out our music program as well. I'm pretty excited about that piece. Not many people have asked about that.
Just, I think that's cool. Just making everything better for just all groups of people and making sure everybody's getting.
I think not to interrupt you. I get excited about this part of it. I was a science teacher in high school. I was biology. The rooms that we have right now in science, Mr. Peterson, Mr. Dunn, Sitter, and Mr. Quinn, they do the best they can, right? But Mr. Sitter's classroom is not a science room, right? That's a lecture hall, and he does amazing work in a lecture hall. Mr. Peterson's science room, you really should have, his chemistry room should have some expansions. Like if something goes awry, and it goes boom, there's no place to go other than, I used to sit above him. I would joke as I'd be the first principal to the moon if something went bad. Our science rooms are not adequate. They really are not. And so in the STEAM center that we had talked about, that's out towards the east, I would call it Miss Trotter's room and Miss Dupuis out in that corner. That's where our new art classes would go, art rooms. That would also be where our new science rooms go. And so having science room with outside windows so that you can have fresh air, new ventilation, better equipment. Those guys down there are pretty excited about that. And I think as a student, I'd be really excited to have a new science room. But I'm a science nerd too, by the way.
Well, that'll be nice because, none of the rooms even have windows, anything.
Mr. Quinn,
connection to it.
Quinn and Mr. Sitter have a door. Right. But and that's something that they had asked for too. Is if this comes to reality, they want to be able to get outside. Right. So an exit. There's a lot of stuff that Mr. Sitter does outside. A lot of experiments, and so we want to be able to have that access in and out, have some fresh air and natural light. I think throughout the entire district, and so from elementary to the high school, we're really paying attention to green natural light. All classrooms having a place where they have sunlight. The only one I see that doesn't be with this room right here. We need a green screen. And to me, the most logical place for a big green screen podcasting studio is where Mr. Sitter sits, or Mr. Peterson sits right now. That's a big dark room with all kinds of possibilities. So that's what we're thinking.
Yeah, and I think that's a big deal too with like the natural light, because I think almost sometimes when you sit in those rooms and you don't have that natural light, I think you can almost
takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, it takes.
It does.
Just sitting in those.
Sitting in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My office is where Mr. Health sits now,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there for 3 years. Not being able to see natural light's tough. Case in point, been before you guys got up to the high school, but we remodeled the front entry area of this place.
Mm-hmm.
And in that same remodel, we put windows in the gym that's currently here. And they're not really, they're called cow walls, but they're, you can't see out of them, but it lets natural light in.
Yeah.
Our discipline rate dropped in that PE setting substantially once we got natural light. You know, that's unofficial, but it's a point where I think that natural light brings a lot to the table for students, and I think it helps everyone. And that's our methodology, is to try to get every class into an exterior room where we have natural light.
Yeah.
That's our goal. Well, if we can get 100%, it'd be great. You know, if 99% of our rooms are that way, we've met what we wanted. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
It's going to be it's going to be a lot of work, and it's I think what we haven't talked about is it's a lot to ask our taxpayers.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's expensive, and I don't take that lightly. You know, when I have to go and talk to civic groups, I was out last night, and we've been doing community tours. And I have people that said it's going to be hard for us to afford this, and I recognize that, and I do not want to shy away from it. Mm. It's a burden. It is a civic burden that we have to do that. But if we don't, we will some point in our lives. Yeah. Some point in this school district's life, we'll have to do something about our schools.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to take that on right now.
Especially when the outcome is going to bring so much more in revenue, everything.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of competing factors. You know, the county wants to build a jail, and so that's going to fall onto the taxpayers. You know, the city wants to do things, and I realize all that. And I completely believe that if we build great schools and we teach kids how to be academic successful and connected into their buildings and their school, that the need for a jail will be less.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm going to run off the school side first, and that we absolutely have to do everything we can to produce the best, safest, academic, engaging place for our students.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer willing just to settle for what we have. I think we can do better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on today.
Yes,
I mean, we're going to have you sign the wall.
I'd say successful.
I'd say this is a pretty successful interview.
Awesome. Yeah. So. Anytime. I'd love to come up and visit again.
All right.
Nice job.
Oh, wait. Actually, our viewers kind of like it when we kind of go off the rails a little bit. That's kind of my saying.
Knew it.
So what would you do if you got into an apocalypse level event and you woke up and you were the only person in Polson?
Sometimes I feel like that. Really. What would I do? How long do I have to think? This is like right off the shirt.
Yeah.
I would. The natural thing, the science guy in me, kick in my survival skills. I'd make sure I go get water. I'd make sure I get some food. I get some shelter. I would assess the value, see what's going on, collect my resources, get ready to go. I don't know. But my other side would be I'd go grab my golf clubs, because I know there's nobody on the golf course. I'm going to go golfing.
Yeah. I like that side.
Because there's nobody there.
I like that side.
You know, that in Alaska, I used to teach wilderness survival classes, so I get the whole thing about collecting your resources and analyzing situational awareness and know what your food sources are. That's all. Everybody would answer that way, but I go grab my 9-iron and let's go for a walk.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to just kind of like walk down like the middle of like streets and stuff, like just go in wherever you wanted.
Just go anywhere. Wasn't Will Smith in a movie like that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I Am Legend.
Yeah, I Am Legend.
Yeah,
that's a little darker, though. That's a little,
We didn't go that dark.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
what happens in that movie.
you know, the personal side, I'd want to make sure my loved ones were, but you already said they're already gone.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't go golfing if I'm mourning. Right?
Well,
okay.
maybe that's just how you mourn. You know?
It could be. I'm going to go reflect. I'm going to go reflect on the golf course.
Exactly.
How was that answer?
That was pretty good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was a lot smarter than I think I was expecting.
A lot smarter than I looked.
Yeah.
All right. Good enough. Hey, you guys did a nice job.
Yes,
thanks
thank you
for coming on today.
Appreciate it.
Your time.
All right.
Bye.